Many people reach retirement expecting relief and fulfillment, then are met with a quiet emptiness that no one warned them about. For some, purpose slips away slowly, replaced by an unsettling silence of days with nowhere to be. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. This documentary isn't about fixing that emptiness, but about gently exploring what actually seems to help, as meaning, and even a sense of self, returns in the smallest, least expected ways. Why does the answer seem so different from what most of us were told? Meaning rarely returns in a rush. Many people find that after the first days of retirement, purpose feels distant, almost hidden in the quiet. Martha, a former office manager, remembers those early weeks as a kind of waiting room. Most days, she drifted from the kitchen to the hallway, then out to the mailbox, unsure what she was hoping to find. One morning, she noticed her neighbor's mail piling up. Without thinking much about it, she walked across the yard and knocked to check in. That small act, simple, unplanned, became the first time retirement felt less empty. For Martha, it wasn't a grand project or a new hobby that brought meaning back. It was a quiet, everyday moment. Many retirees notice these first signs of purpose, not in the big plans, but in small, almost accidental gestures. A conversation in the grocery aisle, watering a friend's plants. Meaning often begins to return in these gentle, indirect ways, without warning, and usually without fanfare. Over time, these moments gather, slowly reshaping what days feel like. The process is rarely visible at first. It happens quietly, almost in the background, as old routines fade and new patterns settle in, one small action at a time. Retirement often brings a quiet reckoning with self-worth. For decades, many people measured their value by what they accomplished each day. The rhythm of work, deadlines, meetings, even small daily tasks became a kind of proof that you mattered. When that rhythm stops, a strange discomfort can settle in. Some retirees notice it first in the smallest places. Leon, who once balanced dozens of accounts as an accountant, found himself staring at a single grocery list. He wrote it out carefully, checked the totals twice, then felt a wave of emptiness. "Decades of ledgers, now just eggs and bread," he wrote in the margin. "Does this count for anything?" This feeling is not a personal failing. It is the result of years spent linking productivity with self-respect. Many people have been conditioned to believe that doing less means being less. The discomfort that comes when activity slows down is a learned response, shaped by years of routine and expectation. It is not unique, and it is not a flaw. For many, this is simply part of what it means to step away from the world of work. The old habits linger even as the days change. In time, some retirees begin to wonder if there might be another way to feel steady, one that is not built on constant accomplishment. Some people notice that days without any shape can feel heavier than expected. Too much freedom all at once can be unsettling. Many retirees find a gentle rhythm helps, not a strict schedule, but a few small anchors that quietly mark the day. Ravi, a former engineer, never planned his mornings. Yet each dawn, he found himself stepping out onto the garden path behind his house. He didn't set an alarm or make a checklist. He simply wandered among the tomato vines, sometimes pausing to watch the DOW on the leaves or listen to the birds. That short walk became a kind of compass, not because it was productive, but because it brought a sense of steadiness. Some mornings he lingered with a cup of tea. Other days he pulled a few weeds or just stood quietly, letting the air settle around him. Over time, this small act, repeated but never forced, became a gentle anchor. There was no pressure to accomplish anything. The point was not to fill the time, but to let a bit of structure return, softly, into the day. Many people discover that light rituals like a morning stroll, a favorite chair by the window, or a regular phone call can offer a quiet reassurance. These anchors don't chase away emptiness overnight, but they give the hours a subtle shape. The day feels less like an empty expanse and more like a space that can hold new moments, one quiet morning at a time. Ravi once kept a calendar that filled itself. After retiring, his weeks stayed busy: bingo on Mondays, coffee with neighbors on Wednesdays, a steady stream of invitations and reminders. Each event seemed harmless, even welcome at first. But as the months went by, Ravi noticed a strange restlessness settling in. The more he tried to fill his days, the less present he felt in any of them. His afternoons blurred together, and the sense of empty grew sharper, not softer. One week, Ravi decided to skip his regular bingo game. The house felt unusually quiet that afternoon. He wandered outside and sat beneath a tree, listening as the wind moved through the leaves. There was no plan, no schedule, just the soft sound of branches swaying overhead. For the first time in weeks, Ravi felt the edges of his restlessness ease. The hours slowed down. He noticed the warmth of the sun on his arm, the distant hum of a lawnmower, the way the light changed as clouds drifted by. Many retirees discover that fewer commitments can bring a new kind of presence. Instead of chasing after every opportunity, they choose a handful of anchors that feel steady. Letting go of a packed schedule does not mean giving up on connection or joy. Sometimes it simply makes space for the quiet moments that remind people they are here, now, and that is enough. Contribution in retirement often looks quieter than expected. For some, it takes the form of steady, almost invisible acts that bring a sense of usefulness without applause or recognition. On a winter morning, Ravi zipped up his coat and carried a bag of groceries through the snow to his neighbor's porch. He didn't announce his arrival or wait for thanks. The door opened, a brief word was exchanged, and then Ravi walked home, the cold air stinging his cheeks. There was no meeting, no committee, no tally of hours served, just the simple relief in knowing someone had what they needed for the day. Many retirees notice that usefulness can be found in these small, reliable gestures. Sometimes it's checking in on someone who lives alone, or listening quietly on the phone while a friend shares a worry. There is comfort in being the person who remembers birthdays, who keeps an extra key for a neighbor, or who notices when the trash bins are left out too long. These moments do not fill a calendar or earn praise, but they carry a quiet comfort. Presence itself becomes a kind of contribution, a way of saying without words that someone is here and paying attention. For some, this is where a new sense of belonging begins to take root. Not in the busy swirl of organized activities, but in the gentle, steady acts that shape the days of those around them. In these moments, usefulness is not measured by achievement, but by the quiet comfort it brings. In the quiet that follows retirement, many people notice a strange in-between space, a gap that sits between who they were and who they might become. For some, it feels like walking through empty hallways after the last bell has rung, the echo of an office chair rolling across a floor that no longer needs them. There is a sense of waiting, not for anything in particular, but for a feeling that hasn't arrived yet. Some retirees describe mornings that stretch out, unclaimed by any role or responsibility, with the old routines gone and nothing obvious to replace them. This unsettled phase is not rare. Across conversations, a pattern emerges. The old identity has faded, but the new one is still unclear. Some people call it limbo, Others just feel it as a low-grade restlessness, a sense that the world has moved on, but they are not quite sure where to stand. These feelings can last for months or longer, and they do not always follow a straight path. For those who left work suddenly, or not entirely by choice, the gap can feel wider and more persistent. Others notice it ebb and flow, sometimes strong, sometimes barely there. What matters is that this unsettledness is not a personal flaw or a sign of doing retirement wrong. It is a common part of the process, quietly shared by many, even if it is rarely spoken aloud. In this wide, quiet space, people slowly learn to live with the echoes, trusting that, over time, new patterns will begin to form. Today, more people enter retirement than ever before, quietly facing the unsettlement that comes when old roles fade. This stage rarely offers instant clarity. Retirement is not something to solve. It is something people slowly learn how to live inside. Thanks for spending this time here.